Hello everyone, welcome to ACE. I'm YANYING. Let's begin by visualizing a diagram with the fundamental supply and demand curves intersecting at the equilibrium point. With the introduction of a consumption task, the demand curve D1 shift leftward to D2, leading to a new equilibrium. The space between the price level and the demand curve represents consumer surplus, marked in green, while the area between the price level and the supply curve signifies producer surplus, marked in purple. The gray triangles symbolize dead values. The implementation of a consumption task generally results in an increase in the price level, maintaining the unchanged demand curve but reducing consumer surplus. Visually, this reduction in consumer surplus is represented by a smaller area due to the higher price level. At the same time, the task raises the marginal cost of production, prompting producers to potentially reduce their output, resulting in a decrease in producer surplus. Graphically, this manifests as a reduction in the area denoting producer surplus, bounded by the upwardly adjusted supply curve. Consumption task introduce what economists refer to as deadweight loss, reflecting economic inefficiency. This deadweight loss represents loss utility and welfare, highlighting untapped, mutually beneficial trade opportunities hindered by tax. A tariff results in an elevation of the supply curve from S1 to S2, shown in the figure, effectively acting as a barrier between domestic and global prices. This alteration yields two pronounced repercussions: a contraction in consumer surplus paired with a concurrent, though generally lesser, amplification in producer surplus. When contrasted with consumption tasks, it becomes pivotal to acknowledge a nuanced yet significant distinction in deadweight loss. In the context of consumption tasks, the demand curve predominantly undergoes a left-ward shift, as opposed to tariffs, where the impact is chiefly on the supply curve. As a result, the nature of the deadweight loss varies. While both generate economic inefficiencies, consumption tasks primarily influence consumer preferences and demand, leading to a deadweight loss predominantly derived from diminished consumption. In contrast, tariffs produce a deadweight loss that arises from both curtailed consumption and restrict international commerce. Within the framework of the aggregate demand and aggregate supply model, the introduction of the consumption task results in intricate alterations. Initially, it has the equilibrium: long-run aggregate supply curve, short-run aggregate supply curve, aggregate demand curve, meeting at point E1. Pertaining to aggregate demand, an initial shift to the left of the AD curve is observable from AD1 to AD2, shown in the figure. This movement is fundamentally rooted in the decrement of disposable income due to a task, which inherently dampens consumption, thereby diminishing aggregate demand. In contrast, from a supply perspective, the task has the potential to elevate the marginal cost of production, leading to a left migration of the SRAS curve from SRAS1 to SRAS2. This movement optimizes the hidden cost pressures borne by producers, who in response diminish their output, culminating in an escalated price level. It will result in a new equilibrium point in the short term, shown as point E2 in the figure. It's vital to accentuate that the modifications are not mere concurrent occurrences. They are intricately woven in a sophisticated tapestry of economic dynamics that collectively mold the broader macroeconomic contour. In essence, they converge to establish a new equilibrium distinguished by diminished output and augmented price level, an outcome typically replete with economic suboptimalities. It's worth noting that consumption taxes usually remain neutral to the economy's potential output, thereby keeping the LRAS curve unaltered. Initially, the introduction of a health-centered tax might catalyze a leftward trajectory in the aggregate demand curve, a phenomenon primarily rooted in the diminished disposable income ensuing from taxation. Nonetheless, the protracted implications warrant a more detailed examination. If the tax efficaciously boosted public health, a subsequent rightward progression in the AD curve could emerge, underpinned by augmented productivity and the contraction in healthcare outlays. Thus, AD1 shift right to AD2. Shifting the lens to the supply paradigm, the proximate repercussions of such tax instatement could potentially leave the short-run aggregate supply curve largely in stasis. However, as the health-enhancing ramifications of tax-infused labor market, there is a plausible scenario wherein both the SRAS and LRAS curve experience a rightward elevation. In other words, SRAS1 shifted right towards to SRAS2 while LRAS1 moved right to LRAS2. A workforce in better health stimulates booster productivity, thereby amplifying the economy's prospective output. In noting the DAG delineates the fundamental variables, fat tax, health outcomes, economic growth, and the mediating variables, such as consumer behavior and aggregate demand. These variables serve as the pillars upon which the econometric model would be erected. In terms of curve movements, the imposition of a fat tax is hypothesized to initially shift the AD curve to the left, owing to reduced consumption of taxed goods. Over the long term, however, improved public health, manifested in better health outcomes, could plausibly engender a rightward shift in both the short-run and long-run aggregative supply curves, thereby enhancing the economy's potential output. Methodologically, one could employ structural equation modeling or instrument variable method to extricate the causal effect, controlling for confounding variables as indicated in the DAG causal pathway. Fat tax to health outcomes. A fat tax is expected to improve health outcomes by discouraging unhealthy eating. This would be represented by a directed edge from fat tax to health outcomes to economic growth. Improved public health can lead to higher labor productivity and subsequently economic growth. This would be another direct edge. Fat tax to consumer behavior. The tax could alter consumer choice, impacting both health outcomes and economic variables. Consumer behavior to AD and SRAS dynamic in consumption patterns could lead to shift in AD and SRAS curves. A decrease in demand for unhealthy goods might shift the AD curve to the left. If the tax leads to increasing costs for producers, the SRAS might also shift to the left. Healthcare expenditure to economic growth. Reduced healthcare costs due to improved public health can free up resources for more productive uses, potentially contributing to economic growth.